Did you know that the average UK household wastes approximately £720 worth of food every single year? That's about £60 every single month wasted. And this equates to about £14 billion worth of food wasted annually every year in this country. Welcome to Not Another Money Podcast. Why is it called Not Another Money Podcast, you may be wondering? It's because this is not your typical money show. Get ready for real money conversations and lessons, expert insights from some of our very special guests, and hear some really inspiring stories from everyday people. On this podcast, you're going to learn how to earn more, how to spend less, how to grow the difference, and most importantly, live your best financial life. Did you know that the average UK household wastes approximately £720 worth of food every single year? That's about £60 every single month wasted. And this equates to about £14 billion worth of food wasted annually every year in this country. These numbers are actually crazy when you think about how expensive food is right now. The fact that we spend so much on food on a monthly basis, yet we waste so much, we should be in trouble for that. The summer holidays are in full swing now, and if your children are anything like mine, they're going to be trying to eat you out of house and home all throughout the summer. My children are hungry 24/7, and I'm always reminding them at school, you do not eat this often. At school, you have your lunch and you have your snack at break, and that is it. Why is it at home every hour you're coming to me looking for food when I've literally just fed you? But with that being said anyway, if you're looking to reduce your expenditure when it comes to food and groceries on a monthly basis and are looking for ways to make this happen, you've come to the right place, because in today's episode, that's what we're going to be talking all about. I'm going to be sharing with you different strategies and different things that you can do when it comes to your food shopping so that you can bring down those food costs. Now, this list is in no particular order. Again, I've just shared loads of different ideas and things you can do, and you could just work your way through that list and take the ones that you think you can run with and run with them. The first one on the list is to create a meal plan. Failure to plan is planning to fail, and that applies in all areas of life. In particular, in this episode, we're talking about food. When it comes to your meals for the week, it's so important to plan them ahead of time. Creating a meal plan will help you create a shopping list, which you can then take with you to the grocery store to ensure that you're not just buying things on impulse and falling for any of the marketing gimmicks in store. Meal planning, while it might seem like quite a daunting and meticulous task to do, you can do it literally in minutes. Just get your Google Keep or whatever notepad that you like to use to take notes, and make notes of what you want to have for lunch and dinner that week. So I keep it simple, and I cook 2 to 3 meals a week for my family, and that way it makes cooking for me a lot easier. So meal planning, whether you're going to have the same thing every day for 5 days, some people can do that. My husband, he can eat the same thing every day and be happy with it. I need a bit of variety in my life. So if you're like me and need like 2 to 3 meals, that's fine too. Just create that plan. And I think a great thing to do when it comes to meal planning also is to plan meals that use complementary ingredients so that you can use the ingredients across the different meals. So things like onions, for example, those are staples that you would use across many meals. So buying things like that makes sense because you can use it for different dishes. Or even when it comes to your protein for the week, maybe just choose to have a week of just chicken. So then you can just buy a big packet of chicken and use it to create the different meals for the different days of the week, as opposed to in the one week, for example, saying you're going to have salmon on Monday, steak on Tuesday, chicken on Wednesday, prawns on Thursday. That's just going to make that shopping list become very long. And it's also probably going to lead to a lot of wastage because you have all these big ambitious plans of all the meals you're going to cook, but the reality is you don't have enough time to do it all, and you'll probably end up making maybe 2 out of those 5 dishes that you have planned. So I think to begin with, when it comes to meal planning, create a simple meal plan. So maybe just plan 1 to 3 meals for the week, and then I guess as time goes on and you become a pro at this meal planning, then you can plan for more dishes. But I'd say also when it comes to the meal planning, actually another tip would be to keep that meal plan as simple as possible. So just don't be too adventurous. Like when it comes to during the week, we're all busy, we all have work, we all have things that we're doing, and you want to spend as little time in the kitchen as possible. So keep those meals as simple as possible. When you overcomplicate that meal plan, number one, you're less likely to do it when the time comes, because actually you plan to cook this 2-hour dinner and you only have half an hour in which to deliver it in. So what ends up happening is you end up scrapping that meal plan, and half of the ingredients that you've brought for it end up getting wasted. So keep it simple and stick to maybe 2 or 3 meals at max for the week. And yeah, when you hit the stores, stick to that shopping list. Don't deviate from the plan. Actually, just as I'm thinking, when it comes to meal planning during the holidays and you've got the kids around, I think bring the kids into the meal planning process. That will help when it comes to children that are fussy with food, because when they feel like they've been included in the plan, they're more likely to actually participate when it comes to meal time and eating those foods. So maybe give them a few options for the different meals that you can create for the week for them, and then let them pick one out of the 3 meals. And then yeah, that way they feel like they've been a part of the process, and hopefully they'll be more on board with eating whatever you've cooked for them. Another thing that's really going to help to bring down those food costs is to buy in bulk, and buy in bulk for those non-perishable goods, or the foods that have a long shelf life. So things like rice, for example, rather than buying a small 1 kg bag every single week, buy the big 5 or 10 kg bag and put it in a food storage container, and that will last you for months. Number one, it's going to save you time in terms of you going back to the shop every time you need to buy rice, but it's also going to save you money, because 9 out of 10 times when you're buying in bulk, it is cheaper to buy the bigger one versus buying the smaller single-use ones. The next thing I would say actually kind of relates to the first point when I was talking about meal planning, and that is to cook in bulk. So when you're doing your meal prepping, a good way to save you time, save you money, is to cook in bulk. So if you bought enough ingredients for spaghetti bolognese, for example, buy enough so that you can cook double the portion, so that you can have half for food that week, but then you can freeze some to bring out at a later date when you can't be bothered to cook. Growing up, my mum used to always cook in bulk. Every Saturday, that was her thing. She'll be boiling meat, making stews enough to feed the 5,000, and she just used to always batch cook in bulk. And it's something that I've now started to adopt years later. It's not something I did in my first few years of marriage, but since I've had so many children, I have 4 of them now, it's something that I have to do to save me so much time. And it saves me time, and it also saves me money. Like even today, for example, I'm here recording loads of podcast episodes, so I'm not going to have time to cook dinner. But fortunately, I've got food that I batch cooked in the freezer. So I bought one out this morning, and the family will be having that for dinner later. Cooking in bulk and freezing that food is going to save you so much money when it comes to your groceries. Another thing that you can do to save money when it comes to your food costs, keep those food costs down and reduce waste, is for you to get creative with your leftovers. For example, let's say you cooked a roast dinner on Sunday, everyone enjoyed it, it was delicious, it was fantastic. Now it's Monday, you're like, okay, what are we going to have for dinner? You can take those leftover pieces from the chicken, the pieces that once the main pieces like the thighs and the drumstick and everything have been taken, and you have like the scraps of the chicken pieces, for want of a better word, left, you can take those pieces and make a casserole or make a soup out of it, or you can even take those pieces and use them to make sandwiches for lunch the next day. Doing these little things, repurposing leftovers, can save you so much time and also save you money, rather than that food ending up in the bin. Another thing that you can do to save money when it comes to your grocery bill is to shop around for sales and discounts. So my mum was the queen of this when it comes to shopping at supermarkets. She knows what supermarket has the best deals on for whatever food product she's trying to buy. Doing that little bit of shopping around, going on the different supermarket websites or checking the apps or going into the store and looking at their special offer magazine, you'll be able to see what promotions are coming up and how you can then take that and incorporate that into your meal plan, so that you're still able to prepare nutritious meals for your family, but at a fraction of the price. Another thing that's going to help you to reduce those food costs and reduce your food bill is to shop seasonal produce. So depending on the time of the year, different food produce items are at a cheaper price. So for example, around Christmas, carrots and parsnips and all those things are dirt cheap because they're in season. You want to make sure that you're looking for the fruit and vegetables that are in season, so that you're getting good food for less. Generally speaking, when you're buying produce as well that is in season, it usually is a lot fresher, tastes a lot better, because they're being sourced from local farms. Another thing, if you're able to do so, is to go to like local farmers market or just your general greengrocer. A lot of times their produce is a lot cheaper than it would be in your local supermarket. So I think shopping around just generally is going to save you so much money on your food costs. Don't just be loyal to one supermarket or one store. Shop around to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck. Another thing that's going to save you a lot of money, but it's also probably going to be good for your waistline too, and that's to limit the amount of processed food that you eat. I'm always thinking of Uncle Eddie. If you don't know who Uncle Eddie is, he's an ex-bodybuilder turned influencer on TikTok and Instagram, and he's always talking about eat real food. Like, he talks about a lot of food in the stores are rubbish. Like, it's not real food. You need to eat real food. Stop eating fake food. A lot of food that we eat are food-like foods, but they're not real food. So I think when you just eat single ingredient foods, it's a lot cheaper, and a lot better for your health. So where you can, stick to whole ingredient foods, cook your food, cooking your meals from scratch and preparing your food from scratch is going to save you so much money when it comes to your food costs on a weekly and monthly basis. It's actually mad when you think about it, how expensive processed food is compared to real food. And it's not even good for us. A lot of these food-like foods that we buy that we think are good for us, that they, for example, put protein on the packaging or they put fat-free on the packaging, and all of these claims that they make, these marketing messages, it makes you think that item is good. But when things are good, they don't need to be stated as good, if that makes sense. So I think a lot of it is just marketing messaging. And the reality is we can get the most nutrition from eating real food. Going on from the last point in terms of limiting processed food, DIY your snacks as well. So where you can, make your own snacks. You might think that sounds like a tedious thing to do and you don't have the time for it. But some snacks are quite easy to make yourself, like popcorn. How quick is it to make popcorn, for example? You buy a bag of popcorn for £1 or £2 and it's gone straight away. Whereas if you buy a packet of the kernels for the popcorn, you could probably make about 10 or 20 packets of the same popcorn and you can flavor it to your liking. You can even make things like your own granola bar, your own oat bars. I'm not a baker whatsoever. Yeah, I've been able to make my own oat bars and the kids loved it. So you'll be surprised at what you're able to do when you just apply yourself to it. And doing that is going to save you so much money. It probably isn't going to save you time, but if reducing your food cost is the main objective here, then it's definitely going to help with that. Another thing that's really going to help you to reduce your food costs when you're out shopping is to look at the unit price and compare items by unit price and not the final price that they put on a label. So when you go shopping and you go to a supermarket, the biggest price on a label is the price that we tend to look at, and that's the overall cost of the item. For example, a packet of baby wipes, one packet might have 60 wipes for £1 and another packet has 100 wipes for £1. So both of them, the price says £1. But actually, when you look at the unit price that has the 100 sheet is actually the better value for money because you get more sheets for that price. So when you're shopping, you want to look at the unit price, which is below the actual main price of the item, because that's when you're going to know how much a unit of that item that you're buying actually costs. Another thing that's really going to help you to reduce your food costs when you're shopping is to shop around the perimeter. So when you go into the supermarket, for example, it's better to shop on the outside than on the inside, because the outside aisle is where you'll find all the real fresh produce and poultry items and everything like that. And then on the inside, the middle aisles is where you find the food-like foods, basically. So on the outside, if you notice it, when you go into the supermarket, like all the meat counters, that's along the outside. The bread or the eggs, all that thing is around the outside. And then when you go in the middle, that's where you find a lot more of the prepackaged stuff. So shop the peripherals first before you go down those middle aisles, and you'll save a lot more money on your groceries that way. Managing food costs, regardless of the size of your family, requires a lot of planning and being very intentional. You really do need to apply these smart shopping strategies so that you are getting your money working for you and you are getting the most out of your shopping experiences. So just by implementing some of these tips that were discussed in today's episode, you're going to be able to effectively reduce your grocery expenses whilst at the same time still ensuring that your family's nutritional needs are met. So today we explored so many different strategies and ways for you to reduce your food costs on a weekly, monthly and fortnightly basis. We touched on everything from meal planning and utilizing your leftovers to shopping in bulk and making your own DIY snack. These strategies are going to help you to stretch your budget, but without sacrificing the quality and the variety of meals that your family love to enjoy. Join us on the next episode where we're still going to be talking about grocery shopping, but this time particularly, I'm going to be focusing on how you can navigate the grocery store in order to maximize your saving. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you found it insightful and valuable, and I hope it helps you on your journey to navigating your family's food costs effectively. Make sure you subscribe to Not Another Money podcast for more practical tips on family finances and well-being. Share this episode with a friend or family member that you think will benefit from the information shared in today's episode, and I will speak to you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.